Hi, welcome to your Flow and Restore. If we've never met before, I am Dom. It is such a pleasure to be here with you. A few little housekeeping notes. Instagram, since Reels have been added, it's been kind of funny, and I have two different screens going here. So during class, if I get up and sort of like tap the screen, it's truly because I want to make sure I don't lose you as we're practicing together. You are always welcome to head over to YouTube where we have one here. You will also notice I have loads of blankets and pillows. Part of our class, which is why I love this class so much, is dedicated to that cooling down restorative side. So the first half of the class will be building up, we'll be moving our bodies, will be a bit of mobility work, and then the second half is committed to honoring our nervous system, our parasympathetic nervous system, our digestive system, all that stuff. And today's shape that we're going to be taking is a side lying exchange. So if you would like to collect blankets and pillows, anything you can get your hands on, please feel free to do so. I'm going to clear my mat. I always recommend keeping one blanket handy. It's great for if you want to protect your knees, maybe a support for the head, all that good stuff. So please feel free to grab all of your things, and I will meet you on our mats. I hope everyone's been having a wonderful, wherever your day or evening has been, depending on when you're watching this, when we're connecting. And I would love if we could start today by lying on our backs. So meeting down there, letting your feet find the floor, maybe letting those thighs draw in towards each other. Maybe hands come to rest on the body someplace, or maybe not at all. And wherever you are, just starting to come into your breath. Maybe there's a yawn there for you. Please feel free to take it. One of my teachers is big into free the yawn, and I love that too. Inhaling through the nose. Exhaling to blow that breath away. Feeling the heaviness of your body into the floor, and heaviness not in a fashion kind of a way, but in really the weight of our bones, our tissues, our ligaments, our organs, the amount of water that our bodies have within them. All of the particles and molecules getting nice and heavy down into the ground behind you or underneath you. Continuing that flow of breath, inhale to see if you can feel the parts of your body that are in contact with the floor, and exhaling to sink a little deeper. Keep breathing here. So I try to design class as best as I can so that it's accessible for mixed levels. I might not get to an option quick enough for you because I'm just one person. So please feel free to consider this class a blueprint of movement together. And truly it is your body, your practice, your choice. So if there's anything within that blueprint that you would like to customize, please go for it. That is the art of our practice. Starting to separate the legs so they are more parallel, maybe walking those feet forward just a little bit away from you. Starting to allow the breath to add some movement of those legs, rocking side to side. I'm a little squishy for space here, so please know that I might not have full range, but we're working on it. Side to side. Your arms can come out long. Ooh, there's one of those yawns. Can bend sort of like a cactus or trident arms. They could even reach all the way up overhead. And I'm not super particular about where we inhale and where we exhale, as long as it's happening. As long as that breath is flowing through the body. Feeling the expansion of the ribs and the hips. Whenever your legs next find themselves over to the right, feel free to stay there. Maybe it feels nice to bring your right arm down and collect your left hip and sort of give it a little bit of encouragement. Maybe your gaze wants to turn to the left. Maybe there's space for a little bit of a hip massage here. The right hand against the left side of the waist and the hip and the pelvis. Or maybe you're happy as a clam right where you are. I don't really know where that saying comes from. I really should look that up. Take a nice big breath in. Exhale it out. Releasing this shape and taking your little windshield wiper over the other direction. Maybe this time the left hand comes across the waist or the hip, right arm up overhead. And maybe there's stillness here, or maybe there's room for just a little massage down the hip, down the waist. Big breath in and out. Oh, feels so good. One more like that, please. Inhaling in, exhaling it out. Releasing the shape of the arms, bringing your legs up to center. Let's take that right leg, up. Maybe give that ankle a bit of a wiggle, maybe a bit of a shake, and then crossing the right ankle over the left knee. Adding a little bit of a rock side to side here, not particularly aggressively. And please know, I practice these classes publicly without sound, without extra sound, partially so that it doesn't get too confusing, too conflicting with me speaking and noise, but also for copyright purposes. So if you would like to practice with sound, please feel free to add that in. One more little rock side to side. We're not going to pause here. We're just going to keep that movement going. Reach that right leg up one more time. Can you, this time, slide the right leg all the way over so the legs are nice and squeezy. We're going to start to draw in through that low belly. Scoop your low belly back towards the floor and bring those legs up. Maybe lifting up through those ankles. And we're just going to do a little hip slide. So we're going to squeeze the right hip up towards the right rib, left hip up towards the left rib. Little nuzzle side to side. Sort of getting into those hip flexors a little bit, waking up through the obliques. The hope here is not to irritate your low back. So if that's happening, you can always drop the ankles down. Sweep, 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 sweep. Can you keep the legs crossed? Maybe reach those arms up towards the ceiling. Take a breath in as you breathe out. Nod your chin and curl up into this shape. Keep the legs where they are. Inhale to roll your spine down. Now keep that low back connected to the floor. As you breathe out, scoop through that low belly. Nod your chin. So you're trying to scoop and curl, scoop and curl, scoop and curl. As you reach and squeeze. Lower yourself back to the floor. One more time. Inhaling to be here. As you exhale, breathe out through your mouth. Scoop through that belly. We're going to hold it here for 4. Squeeze those legs, lifting the shins up if you can for 3. Scooping and hollowing for 2. Last one, melt it down. Release the legs, unravel, maybe give them a little shakety shake shake. It's really good to warm up through our hip flexors too, yeah? So we're sort of in control of their connection. Next side, left leg reaches up, maybe circle through that ankle, maybe give the leg a little shakety shake shake shake. And then taking that left ankle, crossing it over the right knee, making sure we're flexed through that foot. Again, a little rock side to side, sort of massaging out through the hips. Sort of like fun anatomy fact, if you feel like fun and anatomy go together. Often down the outside of the hip, we get told to roll our IT bands. Now, your IT band is actually designed for stability. So even if you were to massage and fluff it out, it can't change its length. It is what it is. So often when we're feeling tightness through there, it's actually your TFL, your tensor fascia lata. I like to say fascia latte because I think it sounds funny. 2 more little rocks here. Just sort of like a fun little tidbit, yeah? Because we sort of get into these cycles of hearing about things, but not really like exercising our discernment as to really what's happening. And so I thought I would share that one with you. Left leg reaches up for a nice stretch through the hamstrings and then cross that left leg all the way over. So the legs are nice and snuggled together. We're going to take a breath in as we breathe out. We're going to scoop through our low belly. So we're trying to make our belly more of a concave shape and then lift those legs up. Now you can let your shins hang down or you can lift them up and really energize them out. And those legs are trying to squeeze together and open out through the shins, but also lift up towards the ceiling. Going again for that little shake side to side. So left hip draws up to the waist, right hip draws up to the waist. Just sort of feeling what sides of the pelvis are happiest connecting down to the floor and which aren't. This is essentially like cow face pose upright, but now we've brought it down so you can really feel the relationship with the back of the pelvis. One more little shake to each side and then stabilizing at center. So again, you're still scooping through that belly. Arms reach up, take your breath in. As you breathe your breath out, nod and curl. You can always bring your hands behind your head here. Inhaling to lengthen down to the floor, arms reach up. As you breathe out, curl. You could always drop the knees if you'd like, or sorry, drop the shins if you'd like. You could always put your feet on the floor. One more time. As you breathe out, curl it up. You're going to stay here and reach, squeezing through the legs, through that low belly, lifting your torso up for 4, for 3, for 2. Last one, lower it down. Bring those knees into your chest. Give yourself a little rock now, however you would like to make your way up to hands and knees. It could be a rock side to side. Maybe it's a rock front to back if that's in your practice, but making your way all the way up. Setting ourselves up on our hands and our knees. So wrists underneath our shoulders if that's working for you, knees underneath your hips. As we inhale, lengthen the chest through your hands, draw your shoulder blades down your back, open through the tail. As we breathe out, scoop and round through that spine, push the floor away, feeling like we're really trying to spread our shoulder blades. As we inhale, the shoulder blades draw down our back, so making sure they're not squishing up to our earlobes. And we're still trying to keep some awareness of core here. As we breathe out, we're trying to oppose the natural extension of our lumbar spine by scooping and rounding. Maybe give those glutes a little squeeze, give your head a little nod here. 2 more, please. Inhaling to lengthen it out. Enjoying maybe a bit of a stretch through that belly as we breathe out again. Scoop, tuck, and round. Push that floor away. One more time. Inhaling to lengthen it out. As we exhale, we round here. We're going to tuck our toes. We're going to start to walk our hands out. It's going to get kind of funky, yeah? So stay with me. We're going to scoop and round to sit towards our heels. But instead of sitting on our heels, we're going to roll over our feet so we end up in a forward fold. Very contemporary dance for you, yeah? Or if being in a forward fold doesn't feel like it's where you want to be, you're welcome to bring your head up a little bit higher. As we're down here, keep a generous bend in those knees. Let's rub those hands together and give a bit of a massage through the backs of the calves, the backs of the hamstrings, if that serves you. If you don't want to touch your body in any way, that's totally fine. You're welcome to stay down, maybe give that head a little nod. Yes, a very gentle circulation of no. Or I guess yes would be more circular. No wouldn't be. Maybe take a look at your feet. Can you give your feet a little bit of a rub, getting into all the tissues that support us, all the nerve signals that tell us where we are in space. A little massage down through those toes. Mine are a little bit chilly, so maybe warming them up too. Nice deep bend in the knees. As we breathe out, rolling the spine all the way up, stacking those vertebrae, reach those arms up overhead, really let the shoulders shrug up. We're trying to lift everything up to the ceiling, lift, 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 lift. And then exhale, let it come down. Big inhale, roll of the shoulders up towards the ears and then back. Let's go the other way, shoulders roll backwards and then forwards. One more each way, roll forwards, up and around and back as much as we can. One more time, backwards, up and around and forwards. Take a look at your feet. Maybe they decide they'd like to live a little bit closer together. Maybe they're happy being apart. When you're ready, inhale, reach the arms up, lift the rib cage with you. Nice big stretch, firing through those glutes. As we breathe out, diving down over those legs, generous bend in the knees here. Inhale to lengthen out, tail to head. So we're in that kind of neutral middle space. Exhaling to melt it down towards the floor. Press your feet into the floor, ripple and roll yourself up. Again, lift your rib cage with you as you reach the arms. A little unconventional, but we're giving our fascia a bit of a stretch here. All right, away, exhale. Let's melt down over the legs. Inhale, ripple and roll, lengthening out one long line, drawing the shoulder blades onto the back. Exhaling to melt it forward and space. Press your feet through the floor. Ripple, roll, reach. As we reach up, can we lift everything with us and really lift, really lift, really lift. And then bowing forward again, melting forward. Lengthening out, we're trying to add a little bit of flow, a little bit of rippling, a little bit of articulation through our spine here. Pressing through the floor using glutes and hamstrings. Lengthen, and as you reach, really again, lift all of your muscle fibers up towards the ceiling. Exhaling to bow it down. One more like this. Inhaling to lengthen it out. Exhaling to melt forward. Press your feet through the floor. Ripple, roll your spine all the way up. Lift, 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 lift. Hands come down. Can we take that? Let's go left leg. Step the left foot forward in space. Bend into the knees. We're going to take our right foot a little bit wider and turn those right toes out to about 2 o'clock. Front knee is nice and bent, back knee is straightened, and we're trying to square off through those hips. Maybe feeling a bit of a stretch through that back calf. Can we inhale to reach our arms up into this warrior one shape? Inhaling to get nice and tall here. And then as you exhale, can you keep your arms reaching, but can we start to soften through our chest and our ribs? So just feeling the difference in those two shapes, yeah? So instead of reaching now, we still keep length through the arms, but we soften through the collarbones, soften through the ribs. Back glute is still squeezing, front knee is still nice and bent. If you'd like to add a little bit to this, you can take those arms down, place them onto your hips, or interlace your fingers behind you to lift your chest up. Maybe bowing this shape down and forward. Now, maybe your hands don't like being bound like this. My shoulders get funky with it. So even resting your hands on the back of your low back is fine, or bringing them forward, but keep that front knee bent if you can. Hugging those legs together. 3 more breaths here, please, team. Now, the secret sauce of this is that the legs don't get to take a break. They're still hugging in towards each other. That back leg is still nice and strong. That front knee bent. 1 more breath in. And can we use that strength to roll ourselves all the way back up? We're going to straighten that front leg this time. So keep that zip recruitment happening here. Ooh, I think that's a company, isn't it? Zip recruiter. Zippy recruitment through the muscles. Square off through those hips. Now see if you can keep that rib cage in as we tip forward. Maybe your hands stay on your hips. Maybe they come to a thigh. Maybe we still need a bend of that front knee to open through the tail, bringing it down so it's a little more hamstringy in experience. Now this is what this shape looks like in my body, but definitely isn't the only way it can look. If having a bend allows you to open that low back, please continue with that bend in the front knee. However, if you can find a straight leg and a lengthened back, that's pretty fabulous also. 3 breaths here, please, team. Breathing it in. Breathing it out. You're welcome to practice an Ujjayi breath if you'd like to, which would be inhaling and exhaling through your nose. I know there's still an allergy season happening, so maybe that's not practical for your body today. Okay, we're going to spice it up. So wherever you are, bend into your knees so your hands can find the floor. Take the right leg and step it back. We're going to pull the left leg in towards our chest, push that floor away, zip it up, squeeze, 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 and then pop that left knee down on the floor. We're going to pivot that left leg around, coming onto the right edge of our foot. So now you're facing that right side of your mat in a nice side bend here. Yeah, inhaling over. Now, can we exhale, squeeze the bum, find the obliques, and press into your right foot to come up in space. Inhaling to go over to the right. And then exhaling up through center. Inhale, maybe taking a little teeter-totter tip over to the left. Keep pressing the right foot into the floor, zipping through the glutes and the thighs. As you breathe out, find that right side oblique brings you all the way up. Inhaling to take your side bend on your other side. Opening up through that left hip 1 more time. Side bending down. Now you don't have to go all the way to the floor. Maybe that's where you're happiest, but maybe not. As you breathe out through those obliques, bring you all the way up. Side bending over to the right. Bring yourself up. Can we windmill all the way around back towards the front of the mat? Now it's totally up to you. You're welcome to lift the left leg up, step it back into a plank, find your way into your kneeling plank. Taking a breath or two to be here to really nuance. So press that floor away, zip the rib cage in, tighten up through those arm muscles, open through your chest, but keep firing through those glutes. We're going to bend the elbows, keeping all of these things, lowering for 3, lowering for 2. Last 1, finding the floor, flipping through your toenails, press into your hands to inhale, lengthen your chest up, but we're just going, still feeling ribcage on the floor, yeah? Exhaling to melt it down. Inhaling. This is when I say hello to my plants. Exhaling it down. 1 more time, inhaling it up. Exhaling it down. However you'd like to, we're going to slinky back towards a child's pose. We're going to tuck through those toes, start to walk your hands back as if you were going to come into a child's pose and then roll over your feet. So you end up back in that nice hangy forward fold. Take a breath in to lengthen out halfway here, please, and then exhaling to melt it to the floor. Pressing through those feet, ripple, roll your spine up like you're trying to stack taller in space. Bring those arms with you, lifting your ribcage, lifting your tissues, and exhaling to let it come down. Hands can come to your hips. This time we're going to step the right foot forward. Right foot comes forward, right knee is going to be bent. That left foot is going to come out a little bit to the left. This time your toes are facing to 10 o'clock. Straight back leg, bent front leg. Let's inhale to reach those arms up. Let's again bring that huge reach. And then can we keep the arms reaching and soften through the rib cage. So there's still a long leg behind you. There's still a fiery left bum cheek. There's still a bent right knee. And as much as the arms are reaching, now we're starting to find a bit of opposing space, thinking about that little low belly scoop we had at the beginning of our time together. If you'd like to add on here, you can take those arms back behind you. Maybe the fingers interlace. Maybe they interlace in the awkward way. And then we start to maybe tip your torso forward. Now, again, your hands definitely don't have to interlace. You can bring your hands onto your back. You could bring them to the floor. But what's important to note about this first shape is this front knee is 100% nice and bent. Breathing in and just bowing into that inside thigh. Breathing it out. Getting our tissues woken up, moving, making them a little bit more malleable. Remember, the secret sauce to this is that even though the front knee is bent, even though we're melting forward, we're still squeezing those legs together. And so when you're ready, using the power of that squeeze to bring yourself all the way back up in space. Hands come to hips. We're going to straighten that front knee. So we have two strong straight legs now. We're still thinking about that long spine, hands to hips, and we start to tip ourselves forward. That front hip is trying to hinge back. That back hip is trying to melt forward, and our glutes are on both sides. Now, as we start to take this little teeter-totter down, it might become apparent that our backs aren't loving this, in which case, add that bend of the knee back in. That's totally fine. In my body, it works for me to have a straight front leg here, but that doesn't mean that's what it's like for everybody. And it's tight here too. Breathing in, breathing out, using that breath. Now, never sort of sinking into these. Can we still keep, even if your knee is bent, think about contracting through that quad. Those legs are hugging in towards each other. There can be length through the spine and then a little bit of melting here. 3 breaths, please. Inhaling it in. Exhaling it out. Yeah, never sinking into this, always adding in some musculature. That's long-term more beneficial for our bodies than just sort of sitting in a stretch. One more time, breathing in. As we breathe out, hug those legs in, maybe bend through the knee. Start to sweep yourself all the way back up in space. Inhaling to get nice and long here. If you need to give your legs a little jiggle, you can give them a little jiggle. But we are going to make our way back down. We're going to come on to that back left toes. If it works for you, you're going to squeeze the right knee up and give it a nice little ab movement, and then place that right shin down. My body's going to end up facing away from you, but know that I'm still here practicing. We pivot on that right shin, turn out the left side of the foot. So you end up facing the opposite side of your mat. You're in this nice big side bend over. Take an inhale. As you breathe out through that left side of the waist, bring ourselves up. Inhaling to take your side bend the opposite way. Exhaling it up. We go again. Inhaling towards the floor. Now, key here is firing through those glutes, pressing through that left thigh. And as we breathe out, firing that top side waist to bring you up. A little reprieve as we go to the left. One more time here, inhaling to take that windshield wiper all the way over to the right. Breathing in as you breathe out, that left side waist brings you all the way up. Nice job, team. Take your windshield, your little rainbow windmill all the way over, pivoting to the front of the mat. However you would like to make your way to a plank, you're welcome to do so. Maybe you pull that leg back in and step it back. Maybe we come down to the knees. Little bit of housekeeping here. The glutes are still on. Lengthening through that spine, taking an inhale. As we exhale, drawing our chest down to the floor. Inhale, bringing that upper body up. Keep those toes down. As we breathe out, lower into the floor, inhale to slinky back towards a child's pose. Now this time, instead of coming up to standing, maybe we keep the knees bent, lifting up through the hips to find a downward dog. Now downward dog is just sort of our check-in space. So maybe you would prefer your check-in space to be standing, or maybe it's a hands and knees, or maybe it's a child's pose, maybe it's a chair pose. Wherever you would like your home-based check-in to be, please feel free to get there. Little pedaling out of the feet. Now, super important that we're not sinking through our shoulders here. It's really quite an active place to be. We want to feel those feet hugging in. We want to feel the hands actively pressing away. Those arm muscles are on. Rib cage is drawn in. Tail is long. 3 more breaths here, please, team. Inhaling it in. Exhaling nose or mouth. Never letting the activity that's working here to stabilize you, never letting it stop. So continuously feeling the energy of pushing the floor away. As we start to close in on that third breath, maybe finding a moment of stillness. As we inhale, we ripple forward towards a plank. We're going to draw the right knee in. So wherever your home base has been, can you meet with the right foot planted on the floor, left knee back behind you? Let's hug those legs in, keeping them energized. Inhale to reach those arms up. As we breathe out, can we find more energy of legs hugging in? Maybe back toes are tucked, maybe they're not. Let's lift it up here. Few breaths in, few breaths out to keep feeling all that nice strength building here. Now noticing that difference again between lifting up so much that we are really drawing up through our tissue and then softening the upper body as the arms still reach. Adding a little bit to this, can we tip it forward? Place your left hand on the floor. Press your left hand as we twist to the right. Still trying to keep those legs drawn in. Maybe you'd like to tuck the back toes and lift the back thigh. Maybe you'd also like to hover those bottom fingertips. Yeah, wherever feels reasonable for you. For 3. Back thigh nice and zipped, front knee bending forward, but hugging those thighs together. Now from here, we're going to keep that back leg energized. So if it's on the floor, lift it up for a moment and we're going to draw the right thigh in nice and tight. So we're kind of like sitting up. That was kind of sneaky, eh? If you feel happiest with your left leg tucked in, right leg up, we're going to go for a little twist, yeah? Feel free to stay here. If you would like to fully cross that leg over, it's the seated version of what we did on the mat, yeah? That cow face pose. And notice I'm not square on my mat. I just sort of pulled myself in and I've arrived. You're also welcome to take your blanket and slide it under your sits bones so that you can hopefully feel both hips level. Taking a few breaths just to be here, inhaling to feel as tall as you can be, breathing out, maybe adjusting any little bits and pieces of this that we need. When we're ready, let's inhale to reach those arms up. As we breathe out, we're going to take that twist around to the right. Left hand comes to the outside of the right thigh. Right hand comes behind your hip, or maybe it's on a block. Maybe that left palm is turned out. And again, maybe you kind of want it a little more hugged in. Your practice, right? Wherever you need to be. 3 more breaths, please. Inhaling here and exhaling it out. Finding these moments of pause to get back into feeling grounded. Finding moments of stillness, moments of space. All right, we have a fancy transition out of this. Are we ready? Can we do it? We're going to turn our head back towards center. We're going to unravel our arms. Can you bring your hands down towards your left hip? Start to lift your right leg up. Can you swing that right leg all the way around until we're in sort of like a 90-90 here? So left leg is going to come forward from the thigh bone, and then your shin comes out, foot flexed. Same with the back leg. We're going to square off through those hips, and maybe you're lifted up on something, yeah? Now we're not going to tip forward. We're just going to hug everything into center. Hug the front thigh back. Hug the back thigh forward. Press those feet into the floor. Squeeze the legs into center. Maybe reach those arms up for 4, for 3, for 2, Last one. We're getting fancy again. Are we ready? Start to tip those hands towards the floor. Now, it's not going to be cute, but maybe let's swivel those legs around and find yourself in a kneeling plank or a full plank. If you'd like to take a break, please feel free to take a break. Inhaling to be here as we exhale, lowering our chest down to the floor. Inhaling into your baby cobra, or if you're ready for that full back extension, as long as your legs are active, feel free to go for it. And then bringing yourself back into your home base. So again, maybe that's downward dog, maybe it's hands and knees, maybe it's a different shape altogether, wherever feels reasonable for you. Big breath in here, please, team. Exhaling it out. Checking in with all your little nuances of rib cage in, maybe pedaling out through those feet, all of that good stuff. Finding a moment of stillness, breathing in as we breathe out. We're rippling forward into that plank, and this time that left knee is going to squeeze in, squeeze in, squeeze in. However you'd like to get there, left foot comes forward, right knee comes down. Let's squeeze those legs together, reaching ourselves up as we breathe in. And as we breathe out, resisting the temptation to push forward, but rather hug everything into center. Feeling that difference of when we lift everything up and off of our body, like we're trying to reach for the ceiling, and then settling the chest down, firing into those back glutes. Breathing in here, breathing out. When you're ready, maybe your toes are tucked, maybe not. Starting to tip this shape forward, right hand comes to the floor, reach the left arm up to the ceiling. We're in our twist. So the level of twist is completely up to you. Maybe you're staying down, maybe the back toes tuck and we hover up. Maybe we hover and we lift those bottom fingers. Super duper doesn't matter. As long as that rotation is happening from the spine, the legs are active. We're here for 3, for 2, for 1. Now, if your back knee was down, can we lift it up, press into the front hand and front foot, and pull the back leg in. I'm going to swivel so you can see me. So ta-da! We're back on that second side. Now, it might be kind of a negotiation for those hips. Maybe your legs are happiest cozied up, or maybe you like to go for more of that cow face pose. I find the best way to do this is to come forward and then back up into it, but it might be different for your body. Opening out through those feet, trying to press your hips into the floor, taking a moment to just be here, because sometimes the getting here is the trickiest part, right? Than the being. Is that not an analogy for life? Constant lesson learning, constant growing. Now, if this is feeling totally not fabulous, you're always welcome to bring the floor up to you by using pillows and blankets, all that good stuff. Then when you're ready, if you'd like to inhale to reach those arms up, swiveling your torso around to the left, right hand comes to left knee, left hand comes behind the hip, lengthen it up, and maybe that arm is turned out. Truly, if there's a variation of this that feels like it makes more sense, maybe you want to head back down on your back. That's a totally great option. Inhaling to be nice and tall, exhaling through that belly to take that twist. Feels good to breathe, yeah? I sometimes, in this practice of teaching online, I catch myself beforehand sort of criticizing and questioning my place here. But then as soon as we start moving, the practice is for all of us. It's always for all of us. When you're ready, so this is where it gets fancy. We're going to turn our head towards center, unravel, place your hands around to the right side, release the left leg, and then that left leg is going to come around. So we're 90-90 on our second side. So if I swivel, you'll be able to see me, yeah? But you don't need to do that swivel. So right thigh comes out 90 degree or straight out, and then right knee to right ankle, so 90-degree angle. Aiming to do the same thing. Pop pillows, blankets, wherever you need them to be. Hug those legs and square off through those hips. Now, we're not going to tip forward like you would in a typical pigeon. We're going to hug everything in. So we're going to squeeze the front thigh back. We're going to try to pivot the back hip forward. We're pressing our knees into the floor if you can. We're hugging everything into the center. All of our glutes and hamstrings and quads are trying to squeeze, 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 squeeze. Maybe those arms reach up. But it's as active as possible. And looking at it, I could just be hanging out here, right? But but I'm not. And again, this is what this shape looks like in my body, but maybe it's a little more like this for us. Yeah. Lift the floor up to you. Pop things underneath your tail for 3. Keep that activity going here for 2. Last 1. Now I am going to swivel back to my mat so that we can get out of this all together. Now you're welcome to pitch forward, and it doesn't have to be graceful as we scoot ourselves back towards a plank or kneeling plank, whatever makes the most sense for you and your body. Inhaling to be nice and long. As we breathe out, gently drawing our chest forward in space. Inhale to bring ourselves up. Whatever version of a back bend makes sense. Exhaling to roll up and back. Find your downward dog or your home base. Truly whatever feels like it'll make sense for you. Inhaling to be here. Exhaling it out. Inhale. Lift your heels, bend your knees, look forward. Can we take teeny baby tiny steps up towards our hands? We're going to walk our feet really super wide, so mat distance apart, turning those toes out. And then bending down through those knees, sitting our tail back. If your elbows line up inside your knees, feel free to do so. If they don't and you'd like to stay a bit higher, feel free to do so. Just hanging out here for a few breaths. Again, feeling that resistance side to side, lengthening to open out through our chests. Nice breaths in and out. And then however it makes sense to make your way down onto your tail, maybe you can drop all the way down, or maybe there's a more guided version of that that makes sense. Yeah, it doesn't matter, however you want to get there. Little bonus bit of core if you'd like to take it. Reaching those arms forward. We're going to scoop through our belly and roll down 1 vertebrae at a time to the floor. Letting those arms lengthen back behind you. Taking a nice big full breath. Inhaling here to stretch fingertips to toes. And exhaling it out. Starting to get ready, setting up for the restorative portion of our time together. So if you're happy to stay there, or if there's any other little movements you would like to make before we get into the restorative part, please feel free to do so. The first thing I love to do when I'm setting up for restorative is change the texture of the space. So I always like to put a blanket down. It's such a tiny difference. Even if I'm practicing on carpet, I always try to put a blanket down. It's just like a nice sensory change for the body. And it also sort of feels like I'm laying out a new mat for a new purpose, which I like. So sort of setting out your foundation. Now we're doing a sideline shape, and it'll be happening on both sides of our body. So knowing from side to side that there may be just a little bit of variation in what your body's looking for. This is your time to collect your pillows and your blankets and all that good stuff. So I'm going to start by deciding where I'd like my head to be. And my head, I've decided, is going to be up on this end. So I'm going to pop a pillow there. This is literally a pillow from my bed. Doesn't have to be fancy with props, just has to be comfy. Then I'm going to put a smaller one on top because I feel like I'm going to want to use that. We'll be setting ourselves up so that there's support for our waist. And essentially what we're doing is creating some peaks and valleys. So the peaks are going to support our waist and our head, and the valley is going to be for our shoulder and our arm. So a little bit of troubleshooting might be necessary. I also like to pop a pillow in between my knees, helps to keep the bones from squishing each other, yeah, which maybe isn't always the comfiest. So my first sort of little test run of this, pretty good, just a little cozy. I'm actually kind of digging it. Now, if you have shoulder stuff like I do, you might want extra padding. So popping another blanket down might feel really lovely. And I'm actually going to fold this guy up so it's a little bit higher. And then let me try that again. Bending down. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. There's sort of this feeling that happens when you're like, oh, I'm getting there. It's happening. The comfiness is going on. All right. So I have a pillow between my knees. I have a pillow filling in that side bend shape or assisting the side bend shape of my torso. I popped a few extra or a little bit of an extra blanket situation under that shoulder for a bit of support. Then my head is rested. Now, if you'd like a bonus tip, if you can, with whatever your head is fully resting on, you're going to start to tuck it back and around behind you and underneath you So it creates like a little nest for your head. If you have an extra blanket to go over your torso, please feel free, or another pillow as well. Last little bit of business for this top arm. Oh, yes. Feeling good. I'm going to stay here with you for a few moments. I'm going to take this bigger blanket away so that if you need to sort of check in, you can kind of check in, but know that I really love that big blanket, that big pillow, sorry, for my hands. Taking a few moments to settle. Maybe you'd like to turn some lights off. Maybe if you've been listening to music, you'd like to turn it down. I'll also be playing some chimes for us today. So there will be just a little bit of sound practice. Closing your eyes. Inhaling in through the nose. Exhaling to sigh it out. Inhaling in. Exhaling to settle that breath out. And as you continue resting here, noticing if there's any extra little nuzzles or adjustments you'd like to make. Maybe your head is up in a ponytail, or hair is up in a ponytail or a bun, and you'd like to take it out to release any extra tension on the head. Noticing if your jaw is gripping, if the gaze underneath your eyes is still quite strong. And can we soften those spaces? And when we were on our back at the start of our time together, we talked about feeling heavy into the surface behind us / underneath us. And so as we're resting in this first shape and side, seeing if you can bring a little bit of that in as well. Inhaling into that right side body and exhaling it. Knowing that I have complete awareness of time. Even as we go silent together, I'm still here. And I will be closing practice on time today. So you don't have to worry about a thing. As your body starts to melt into its supports, allowing any extra thoughts busying your head to melt with it. Maybe imagining our brains like a little bit of a melting pot. And as thoughts come in, just sort of let them go, redirect them directly into your pot. Inhaling in here and exhaling out. Letting it all settle. And letting your breath take you just a little bit deeper. Inhaling to be here. Exhaling to melt. And if you catch yourself making funny noises or drooling, that is an excellent sign. Noticing the relationship of your feet and your ankles to each other and the floor, through your legs, feeling their relationship to each other and to any supported surfaces. Through the thighs, up into the hips, into the pelvis. Into your abdomen, watching the flow of breath in and out. Through your back, into your ribs. Through the neck and jaw, through the back of the head, through the shoulders. Using our breath to drop a little bit deeper. Following the weight of the inhales and the weight of the exhale. If you're super duper happy as you are and you just feel like you'd like to stay here and not bother with your second side, please feel free to continue. If you'd like to find the second side of this shape, starting to add a deepening consciously of the breath and out. Maybe a wiggle of the jaw, maybe a stretch of the legs, maybe a stretch of the arms. Very simple. When you're ready, pressing yourself up. If you tucked in your pillow, maybe untucking it and just flipping over onto that second side. Finding the crease of your waist for the pillow, the support of the shoulder on the blanket, and maybe the tuck of your upper surface for your head. If you had that bigger shape with you for that upper arm, bringing it as well. Now this side is where I will be pressing up and playing some chimes. So even though I am moving, please feel free to be exactly as you are. Following Trail of those inhales, deepening as you exhale.